enough time to have your lunch. And good to see everyone again. I think last week some of you are asking me to talk more about, you guys are trying to do the homework for the levels of evidence table. And somebody's supposed to send me the information. I never got the email. So I don't know.
Was I supposed to send you the syllabus?
Yeah, but so I think because of I don't have enough information, what kind of levels of evidence you guys need to do, and plus I think maybe it's better for your instructor to help you with that kind of question. Because I don't want to provide you with the wrong answer, but in this session, we'll talk about at least how you identify different types of studies, because the levels of evidence is related to the type of study, right? Depending on the type of study, and then you will be able to identify, the level of the evidence. So we'll do it that way. And so last week, we basically focused on the ask, right? How you form the PICO question, and then based on your PICO question, and how you find some background information on your PICO question, and then possibly revise your PICO question, right, to get a better, answerable, structured clinical question. So we focused on that, and this week we are going to basically focus on acquired evidence, because when you revise your PICO question, also pretty much rely on how much information you find on your topic, depending on where to look, and then how you conduct your search strategy. Again, last week we focused on this research as inquiry, and basically we said that research is interactive and depending on asking more complex and new questions. So depending on the information you find, and then you revise your question, and then that's and comes back and reform that question again. So this week, what our focus will be the search as strategic exploration. So when we do our search, it's not like a one-time thing, and it's non-linear, and it's interactive, and it requires evaluation of range of information source, and remain your mental flexibility to pursue alternative avenues as new understanding develops. So, you all have your handouts, and we are going to have, a couple exercises later on. And after you do that, you'll probably have a deeper understanding of what this means. So today, basically our course goal for today is we're going to familiar with some evidence-based research tools, some of the databases, major databases that you might want to use to search your evidence, and then match your information need and search strategies to appropriate search tools. Because different databases, their search technique and their search command can be a little bit different, and then their contents that they include can be different. So you need to be familiar with, the limitations of that database, and then also maybe possibly, the appropriate search strategy to match with that. And then design and refine your search strategy as needed. And we talked about the keyword and subject in our first session, our basic library skills. You guys, people remember that, right? So we are going to refresh that and maybe search different, search using different languages, and also we are going to identify type of studies in the evidence-based research tools. Like I said, when you have to fill out your levels of evidence, after you find your result, how you identify what type of study is that. Okay, so there are kind of like different type of databases. You are all familiar with primary research? Anybody know the difference between the primary and secondary? What's primary research? Original research. So basically it's originally conducted with data and everything. So primary research, these are the databases that you can, help you to find some primary research data, including PubMed Signal and Cochrane Clinical Trial Database. Secondary research, and these are some of the database, and we mentioned about up-to-date. I'm not going to focus on up-to-date. Are you all comfortable searching up-to-date or very familiar with up-to-date? Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, and then this, we call that, sometimes we call that, like our OneSearch, we call that discovery layer. And basically, we mentioned about OneSearch, right? That's searching multiple databases that include almost all the subscriptions that we have. Anybody heard about TRIP? Okay, TRIP is another important, it's a free database. It's on my lead guide. It's a free database that searches for multiple sites of evidence-based resources. So we are going to mention that. And then this is another one, Access. Access used to be free, but now you can still use Access, and it just requires you to sign up for a free account. Okay, so that's another kind of like a search engine, search multiple sites for evidence-based research. So we call that meta search engines, or databases of databases. Yes.
Do all of those overlap quite a bit? TRIP, Access, and OneSearch all kind of overlap with the journals that they covered?
That's a very good question. And we're going to mention a little bit more. Like TRIP is British based. So the evidence-based literature, you might find some British, the foreign, literatures, more foreign literatures on evidence-based. And then OneSearch is basically our discovery layer, right? Our searching the different databases that we subscribe. But the good thing about OneSearch, we mentioned about OneSearch is interdisciplinary, right? It searches for not only the nursing health databases, but also other like PsycInfo, other databases it subscribe. But it's beyond that. It also searches for open source materials. You guys heard about open source journals? Okay, open source materials, now more and more, our next session we'll talk more about scholarly communication, talk about open source. Before a lot of times, the articles, especially like scholarly articles that is through the publisher, right? And then you have to pay to get the access. And now with more and more research is being done, because that's a very slow process. And then you have to submit it, and then they have to do peer review, and then when they publish, it takes quite a bit of time, and can be a couple months, and can be over a year or something. Later on when you do your research, you probably will experience that as a scholar. But then the scholar, a lot of scholars said, we want more information. We want the most up to date, especially like for your health and a lot of things. You guys heard about open source software? Like open source, and basically like the programmers, they just release their code and share with everyone. So that way, the development of that will be much faster than you keep it, closed door. So open source journals is the same way. So those scholars, researchers, they said, well, we want in our circle, because we did the work, why let have the publisher monopoly the whole market? And we want the work to share with each other. So that's what the open source become. So there are some open source scholarly journals, and next week when we're talking about evaluating information, that we'll talk about more about that. So that's basically open source. So OneSearch will include the paid subscription, but also some peer review open source articles. Got it? Okay. Good question. Okay, and then source of evidence, and if we can categorize into two big categories, pre-appraised. We call that filtered information. So like systematic review, meta-analysis, and evidence-based guidelines, those are, somebody already synthesized it, evaluated, right? So we call it filtered, pre-appraised information. And then non-appraised, unfiltered information that including some of the primary research like randomized control trial, clinical trial, case studies, cohort studies, okay? So when you're evaluating your evidence, you're probably very familiar with this pyramid already, right? So these, depending on your type of study, last time we talked about depending on your type of question, there might be type of study that best answer, your question. And then the quality of evidence, this is the highest quality, and these are, as you go down, these are the lower the quality of evidence. And then here again, pre-appraised information, non-pre-appraised information in this pyramid. As you can see, the primary research, randomized control trial, cohort study, and these we call that non-appraised. And then appraised, these are up above, these are pre-appraised information. Here again, TRIP is mentioned here. You can use TRIP to search it, and then clinical guidelines is kind of like a summary on the evidence, certain type of evidence that you can search using the guideline, using database or some of the website, or you can get some update summary information on specific topic on the evidence base. So here's another. Again, you will have this slide later on. So today we are going to focus on these databases that use for evidence-based research. So PubMed, you guys use PubMed. You're all familiar with PubMed. And then Medline with food test. That's basically it's the paid subscription of Medline. You heard about Medline? Medline is part of PubMed. PubMed is more than Medline. Okay, we'll talk more about that. And Sino Complete. And Sino is the biggest nursing database. As a nurse, everybody needs to know Sino because Sino is the biggest comprehensive nursing allied health database. ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health Source, we're going to talk about that. And that covers more than just nursing, but also allied health, alternative, complementary medicine. Okay, so that's also a paid subscription. And Cochrane Library. Anybody use Cochrane Library? No? Okay. Okay, Cochrane Library is a collection of Cochrane reviews. Cochrane reviews are systematic reviews. So Cochrane Library is a database, is usually considered a database for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. That's a paid subscription too, okay? And then TRIP database I mentioned, and this TRIP database is focus on the evidence-based literature, but it's free. It's a free search engine. Okay, so we're going to mention about that. Okay, so go to your computer and then go to my LibGuide. And we're going to spend just 1 or 2 minutes to familiar yourself with maybe possibly other resources that related to evidence-based literature. So if you go to the LibGuide, click on Browse All Guides, and then you can click on my picture. We can actually go to the DNP project. Once you go to that, you go to evidence-based research, and that basically leads you to another guide. That's the guide that I created specifically for evidence-based research. And then last week we focused on step 1, ask. And this week we are going to focus on step 2, acquire. So just click on acquire. Basically, I want you to do is to look at this section where to look for evidence-based research articles, and these are all the resources that I listed there. It's more than that, those main resources I mentioned in my guide. So look at it and see if you see anything else you think you might use for your project, because you guys already have some ideas about what you're going to do for your DMP project, right? So just look, let's spend 2 minutes, just look through this list quickly and see if you identify any other resources, besides what I just mentioned, that you think you might use, okay? Yes, you're welcome. Yes. Okay. So, I suspect, are you guys all quick readers? Depending on what you're reading. Okay, so you can submit your answer or whatever if you care to just go to pooleverywhere.com and just go to this website, or you can just text this to this number, and then once you get there, then you can text your message there and say, which side you like to use. You can basically copy and paste from your computer if you want. Did anyone find something they think they might use later on? Besides that, that's the databases I listed in my LibGuide. I mean in the PowerPoint. Evidence alert. Okay, good. Well, HomeCrest is the one that we mentioned. Okay. And that one, best bets, is focus on emergency medicine, if that's your topic. That site, right? And then, did you see, there are some, there's this one, for the, if you're researching, I think on the health services, or there's one site specifically for you can build your Pico questions to search for evidence base.
So if you go to someplace like Best Bets, which I just did, they want you to log in, so you do have to create an account.
Yeah, some of those, yes. So, and then like this one, and I think this one the other day, health service technology assessment. If that's related to your topic, and then guide to community preventative services. So again, just to let you know that there's more than what I listed there.
Have you found through the years that if you log on to one of these, they're pretty reputable, as opposed to do they then sell your data to somebody else and you start getting pop-ups from, you know what I mean?
Well, what I listed is usually the pretty reliable sources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that trip, usually,
Right.
In the medical field, everybody, I would say experienced experts, they own the trip.
Okay.
Okay.
Really?
Especially for evidence.
Said they have like a bunch of unrivaled content and everything.
Have a bunch of what?
Unrivaled content, over 70% of all the questions answered. Trip does. Just saying, it sounds like a great website.
Okay. Yeah. Here's a review, the difference between the keyword and control vocabulary, right? So when you search for Medline, Signal, and PsycInfo, there's a control vocabulary. We mentioned about the difference between the keyword and subject, right? So some databases, they call it subject, like the LC subject heading when you search for the catalog. And then when you go in the Medline or PubMed, what's the subject heading they use? Anybody? The MASH subject heading, okay? So the difference between the keyword and the subject search, remember I said, when you do the keyword search, the computer is basically matching the word appear anywhere. So you can get a lot of unrelated hits, but then when you do the keyword search, it's the, the subject search. The subject describes what the article about, so you get a more of a precise search that way. And be aware of these stop words, okay? When you construct your people question, a lot of times you'll have these, stop word. We call that stop word. So do not enter those as the search term, okay? Okay, so is this true or false? A control vocabulary set may yield fewer results than keyword search, but those hits are more likely to be relevant to the clinical question. Okay, you all get it. But then let me ask you another further question. Then, is the control vocabulary search the best search? Comparing with the other search? If you do control vocabulary search, is that considered the best search? That's a tricky question. So what do you think?
Sounds like it would be.
Sounds like it would be. Anybody disagree? Just don't know. What don't know can be a good answer.
It's my answer.
It's your answer. Anybody disagree? Okay, so I would say not necessarily. Okay? To me, I think there's no best search. There's only better search. Okay? So when we do, say, control vocabulary search, those are created by human, right? And we talk about, remember our first session, when we had that comparable table between the keyword and the subject. Subject is more limited, but next flexible. Keyword is more flexible. And then a lot of times the keyword you use might be the latest word and has not been considered into the subject yet. So sometimes a keyword search can be a better search. Now remember, search is not linear, so you need to think about it because everything is created by human. That subject term is picked by human. And that article, sometimes you would think that they will pick that subject. That subject should be included in the subject field, but somebody might forget about it to put that in the subject, but it appears in the keyword. So I would always say combine the keyword search with the subject search. Always evaluate your search. Look at what subject term they use. Creatively combine them, and then to reconstruct your search. Okay? So there's better search, not best search. Okay? So Signal, and are you all familiar with Signal? Yes. You all have done some search with Signal. Signal is very good for that unfiltered information, but also the filtered information. You can find systematic research, systematic review. You can also find clinical trial and all those. One thing I would like to mention is a lot of times when you do the one search or when you are in the database, I see a lot of you just automatically check that food, limited to food test. I would suggest you not to do that. Because what does that mean is when you say limited to food test, and that data, in that database, sometimes after you conduct your search, you see that PDF appear, right? So limited to food test, that's basically what it is. It's limited to that PDF available or HTML available, okay? But then on the other hand, we have link, say find the food test link. Then when you limit it to food test, exclude all those that actually has food test. We have link that you can click on it to link to other database to get the full test, then you exclude those good articles. So don't limit that, okay? That's what I suggest. Okay, so in the signal, the one thing good about signal, when you do your evidence-based search, we mentioned about when do you conduct a one search, when do you conduct the specific database. One search can give you lots of hits. And sometimes I said, I just want systematic review, or I just want a randomized control trial. And it might be easier when you do, and then you said, I want the limit to nursing journal articles, not the other, medicine type of article, but nursing. So then you might want to conduct signal. And then signal has publication type that you can limit specifically to case studies, clinical trial, meta-analysis, or systematic reviews. It also has a clinical query filter that you can use. So let's do example. You all have your handout. Let's do one exercise so you'll be able to understand this a little bit more. So in your question 1, well, before we do that, let me finish this slide. I forgot this one more slide about signal. So I talked about the evidence-based care sheet last session. Did you all remember that? Evidence-based care sheet? Okay, so that's, you can get some background information, that's summaries on the specific topic, and you can find that evidence-based care sheet on the top of that screen when you get to signal. And then there are, besides that clinical query and then the publication type, they have research articles. You can limit to research articles. And there's another limiter called evidence-based practice. And this limiter, that will limit your search result to evidence-based research articles, including the clinical trial, meta-analysis reviews, as well as from the evidence-based journals. Okay? So now go ahead and let's go to that question 1. Basically, you need to find some evidence-based research article for the following topic. For hospitalized patients, are usual oral health measures or bundling more effective in reducing the incidence of ventilator-associated pneumonia? So anybody can tell me, how about the first step, and let's form your PICO question. What is your PICO question, and what do you think, what type of question this is? Remember that we said, the type of question being the type of question, there might be the best type of study associated with that type of question. Let's go ahead, and you can again go to Pool Everywhere, and then submit your PICO here, and with the question type that you think it might be. So what's what's your P? So basically you should put, say, P, and then what is P, and then what is I, what's C, and what's O. And then your study type, the question type. So what's P?
Ventilator dependent patients.
Okay. Or hospitalized patient. What's your I? What's your I?
Bundling, oral care.
That's compare, right? Yeah, bundling with oral care. And then what's your, what's your C?
Not bundling. Okay.
Okay. And then what's your, your outcome? Reducing the pneumonia, ventilator-associated pneumonia. So what type of question do you think this is? What type of question? Diagnostic, prognostic, etiology, therapy, prevention? What type of question do you think this is?
Diagnostic or prevention.
Prevention?
Pneumonia.
Are you diagnosing pneumonia?
Well, diagnostic, you have to diagnose that it has pneumonia, right? And you are using this intervention to reduce the pneumonia. You are using this intervention to reduce oral health or bundling. So in evidence-based practice, evidence-based lead guide, when we do ask there, the PICO, remember last session we mentioned about the, so intervention therapy. This should be the type. It's an intervention. It's an intervention / therapy. And then depending on the type of the question, what kind of best study that corresponds to this type of question is under the clinical studies category.
So probably an RCT, right?
Yeah, so if you go to this page under ask, everybody look at the screen. If you go to this page under ask, and then go to the clinical studies category, it has therapy type of intervention. Then these are the type of studies that might be, help to provide the answer with the levels of evidence. The level 1 is systematic review, level 2 is randomized control trial, and then cohort none. Okay. So based on this information, now we need to go to, we know it's a therapy interventive type of or diagnostic type of question, then we need to go to CINO to find some kind of evidence-based literature to answer this question. So you can go to acquire and then go click on CINO. Let's go ahead and conduct your search. There are, like I said, there's no best search, it's only better search. And then see how creatively you can conduct your search and then find some evidence-based literature. And then and tell us your search strategy. You can talk with each other if you want. So now you are at the CINO, and how are you going to search? And then make sure that's evidence-based literature, not a general type of literature. Any way you can do that search?
So You come over and you click evidence-based practice, is that what you're saying on this?
That's one of the limiters.
And then randomized controlled trial.
Clinical theory, that's another limiter. You know, if you know it's therapeutic, then you can use that limiter to use. Or under publication type, you can search for systematic reviews, randomized control trial, or clinical trial.
Is that like
You can limit those.
is that usual?
How you get to single. So go to the library's homepage. Are you at the library? Oh, here, home, where is it? Okay. Library. Wow.
There's also,
6 days ago.
Oh, we should
Yeah.
I've heard you got ventilator associated.
tons of vendors.
Left or right?
I got no results found. Does that mean I've got it? I've got it too specific?
Too narrow.
Too narrow.
So I got it down to 20 bullying friends, 5 years, peer review randomized controlled trial.
Okay, does it compare with bundling?
I'm sorry,
Does it compare with bundling?
they're just looking at just the oral care.
Yeah, but you need to compare with bundling. So find the article that compares with
And it
bundling.
came up with nothing.
It came up with nothing, okay? You got two? Has anything to do with bundling?
I don't know, tiniest bundles of joy.
Is that the evidence base?
I've got no results found. Does that mean it's too narrow?
Well, yeah, you need to examine your search then.
Oral care, ventilator associated with pneumonia, critical care or standard care, and bundling.
Well, the more words you type in, the more limited because it's these match unusual care or standard care. I will limit it because the more words you type in, the more it's limited. You have to match all those words. Anybody find anything?
What is my password bundle?
No, it's your otherwise your password that you log in the computer. It's your network
I
password.
did not. So I found one article.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
not even view if I don't look myself.
It's JWU. Or you can use one of the computer. Let's see. There's one there.
Okay.
You want to use that one?
Thank you.
Anybody find the one that
Found one.
compare the bundling?
I found
No
one.
bundling.
You found one. Let's see. Peer bundling and impact a review of evidence. Good. How did you construct your search? Bundling peer. Okay. What's your name? Danny. Could you help me understand? Sure. I will instruct you. Danny. Okay. So then, some of you says you find nothing, and Danny found one. Okay, let's see how Danny does. Everybody look at the screen, and we are going to analyze the search strategy. Okay, so everyone forget about your search, and now let's all look at the screen and see how she found her one article, but it should be more than one. Okay. And it should be evidence-based. So she clicked on evidence-based practice, she limited that. But then, okay, so you can, if you do just evidence-based if you already click on evidence-based, you don't have to, okay, before you do that, okay. Publication type, when you hold on control, and then you can click on, say, systematic review, randomized control trial. You can select multiple choices. And then that means article needs to be about those. But then when you click on evidence-based there, and it also will include those. So just be careful when you click on too many limiters, okay? Because you need to think about how computer works, okay? So yeah, go ahead. So
So I didn't need to hit the evidence base and do the publication type?
That's fine. I said there's better search, not the best search. And different people search differently, and then you just need to know why your search failed. And think about it, and what kind of limiter you apply. Is that too limited? Because the more words you type in, the more limited. Because basically the computer is matching the words, right? The more words you type in and using it have to match all those words. And the more limiters you apply, it has to meet all those criteria. So then it's more limited. So you need to have that logic thinking. Oh, okay, go ahead and do your search and see what you find.
So when I first did it, I didn't get anything.
And now you got 4. So
And then I changed it. I just did bundled care instead of focusing on bundled oral care. And
okay.
that's what gave me some results. But
Okay.
I also got nothing when I first did it.
Okay. Some of you, I see when I walk around, I see some of you use different terms, standard care, and the more words you throw in, the more it's going to match. No, don't leave. We haven't finished. Thank you for helping me. Okay. So the more words you type in, the more limited. You need to think about the words you choose. Choose the best word. That's why we construct the PICO. And then we need to pick the key concept. Okay? And basically what we are telling the computer doing is, we are doing ventilator-associated pneumonia as a keyword. It says it matches searches anyway. You see it's being highlighted? Ventilator-associated pneumonia, okay? And then we need to pay attention to the subjects. Everyone look at the screen. See, the subject uses pneumonia, ventilator-associated prevention control, or that might be the term we might want to reuse, because that's the subject term right there. And then bundle care. Remember the truncation? Because I'm telling the computer that search bundle as well as care. How about if I change it to delete the care? Yes, delete the E and put an asterisk. What does that mean? It's searching for bundling appears anywhere, okay? So, and before we do that, let's examine her result. You say you find which article you just picked?
The first one.
The first one, care bundle impact. Let's see, if it is actually evidence based. So you look at the title. It looks like it's related, and you look at the subjects being used. Scroll down. You look at the minor subject systematic review. So it tells you this is a systematic review. You see how you identify the study, type of study? It appeared in, so always examine your subject, and also in the publication type, it says this is a research journal article. It is a systematic review. So it further confirmed this is a real systematic review instead of a literature review. We're going to talk about the difference between the literature review and systematic review next week. So, and then you read the abstract, then, oh yeah, this is one. But it should be more than one, okay? So how are we going to revise our search strategy? And let's go up. Let's go ahead and click on single subject heading. Go ahead and click on, look at the screen, and you see my dot there. Single subject heading. How about you type in ventilized related associated, ventilator-associated pneumonia to see if that's being used as subject. Say if we don't know what's being used as subject, that's a way to check. And you see it says this used instead, pneumonia ventilator-associated, okay? So let's check that box. And then it gives you some subheadings. Its default, it says it will include all those subcategories. And if you want, you can say I only want to focus on drug therapy, or if you want only a specific aspect, you can do that. Or you can just include all of it, okay? Now I can say, see it's included, now it's included in a search. Scroll up, scroll up. Okay, so if what I'm going to do is, if I say search database, go ahead and click on search. Look at my screen there. If you click on search database, it basically is searching that as the major concept, major subject heading. Okay, and it has 3,000 something. Now I'm going to store another term, say bundling, just do that truncation thing. Okay, and then I can click on search. Now I limit it to 215, and I want to make sure these are evidence-based. So I can click on advanced search. So there's multiple ways you can do the search, right? And we talk about this is a kind of like a therapy. One way we said you can just limit it to say evidence-based practice. You can just check that and limit it, okay, to see if there's anything. Another way you can also, if you are more interested in the clinical query, you can do say, because this is therapy, right? Let's use control and highlight therapy, high sensitivity specifically, and then balance, best balance. And then let's scroll up and click on search, see if there's anything. And now at 98. Okay? So you can also go back to advanced search. Let's go back to advanced search. And the first one you saw, that's a randomized control trial, and that's definitely evidence-based. So we go back and then we try different type of search. Scroll down, instead of use clinical query, this time we just check evidence-based practice. Scroll up and do the search again. Instead of 98, there are 40, okay? So you can kind of examine the result, the difference, and then you can also, let's go back to advanced search and see if I want a systematic review. If I just want the highest level, see if there's any systematic review. Let's go to the publication type and select systematic review or meta-analysis. And control. And now scroll up and do search.
What's the difference between the meta-analysis and the synthesis?
Very good. There's a meta-analysis and meta-synthesis. Okay. Meta-analysis is highest level. The difference between that and systematic review is it has the data, right? It analyze different studies and then use the data too. So it's a high level of evidence. And meta-synthesis is more like they are evaluating couple of the different descriptive research. So it's more like evaluating the qualitative research instead of quantitative research. So meta-synthesis is analyzing the descriptive research articles, qualitative research articles. Know the difference now? Okay, so now we find some systematic review. And again, if you want to make sure that's a systematic review, you can, like I just demonstrated, click on the title, and then analyze it, go click on the first title. And then publication type, it tells you it is a systematic review, even though it didn't say systematic review in the title, right? So it tells you this is a systematic review, and minor subject also confirm this is a systematic review. And then by reading the abstract, you can further analyze exactly related to your topic. So now it's more than one, right? Now do you guys all understand why you fail your search? Let's summarize. What are the reasons that you fail your search? A lot of times it's because of terms that we pick. When you have your pickle, and you have P, you have I, you have C, and you have O, a lot of times the more term you throw it in, the more limited. I would always say, because P a lot of times is population, and when you do your advanced search there, you see you can go back to advanced search. Go back to advanced. There's one limit you can you can limit to specific population. Scroll down, scroll down. Sex you can limit age group. So a lot of times I won't show my patient, I won't show hospitalized patient or something, I will limit that. I will just do the key concept, the intervention, that's bundling, right? And then the outcome, that's the key concept. Using that intervention to improve that outcome, right? So that's the major concept. So I throw those two major concepts there. Remember, the more terms you throw in, the more limited because the computer has to match all. And when I throw that just two major concepts, I got more result. And then through that result, I can examine my result, look at the subject term they're using, any other terms if I want to, have a subcategory I want to limit, then I might reconstruct my search strategy, maybe throw another third term there if there's a lot. And then depending on your evidence, use the limiter in the signal to find your evidence, your levels of evidence. Got it? Very good. So thank you so much for your help.
The other thing you might
Good job, Danny.
you might consider when you're doing your searches, I found I got married when I was doing mine. I got married to a particular PICO question. So don't get bogged down in the PICO question. If once you've done the search, you found like 6 really nice articles that I couldn't find based on the way I was interpreting the PICO, then rewrite your PICO based on the literature you find, and then you can find plenty of literature because you then have a not the best, but the better written PICO question.
Yes, yes.
So don't get bogged down and say, oh, this is the PICO and it's got to be this. I mean, you could tweak that.
Because
PICO
a lot of times when remember last session I said, I gave you some case studies. A lot of students come to me and says I couldn't find any literature. Then first we examine the PICO. We say your PICO is either too broad. Last week I had one. Hers is very broad. And then she came in and said, yeah, you said the same thing. My instructor told me the same thing. Says my PICO is too broad. But I don't know how to narrow it. Okay? So last session we talked about how you narrow it. The way you narrow it is you need to ask those 5 W questions. Understand your PICO very well. Get some background information on that. What are the current evidence has been done, research has been done on that bigger topic. Do that literature search, and then based on the literature search, and then your interest, and then maybe the gap, and then revise your PICO question. And limit it that way, okay? So very good. Okay, let's go back to our slide. That's the signal. Do you all like signal? You feel more confident searching? PubMed. I will always, for you guys, the DNT student, I don't usually teach PubMed to undergraduate students because we have Medline there, we have Signal there, and those are usually enough for them. You guys are going to be serious researcher later on. You are DNT student. You need to find evidence. You need to find best evidence. You need to find the best evidence has been done, right? So then you need to know more bells and whistles. And PubMed is a tool for evidence-based retrieval. It is a service from the U.S. National Library of Medicine. It has a lot of citations related to clinical trial. It has filtered information, unfiltered information, and these are the things that you can use, technique you can use. One is through using the clinical query search. You can also limit using the publication type to filter your evidence. And always, this is very important, everyone, look the front, because don't do that and you miss this. PubMed is free, and a lot of people go to Google and say type PubMed, and then they go to PubMed that way. Don't do that. Go to the library's homepage, go to the research databases, click on PubMed that way, because we're building the link feature in our version of PubMed. And then if you need to find a full test, you can click on the Find Full Test Articles. If you go through the public version, PubMed, the Google version one, you don't get that feature, okay? So this is important. Use the library access PubMed. You use the library version PubMed, okay? Before we do that, let's go ahead and, before I go to the third database, let's do PubMed search. Question number 2. You need to find a systematic review and randomized control trial article on effectiveness of exercise for fall prevention for elderly people. Again, now you need to think about the terms that you're going to use. What are the key concepts for here? What's the people question here, right? P is the older people, right? And then the I is exercise. We can compare, or compare one type of exercise or with another type, or it's just general exercise. That's I. The outcome is the fall prevention. It's to preventing the fall. And then for your PICO, you start with broad. Later on, you can narrow it to specific type of article, specific type of setting. If it's that in a community setting or in a nursing home setting, or you can later on limit it to, a specific type of article on a specific type of exercise. But now we just want very, very general. We just want a broad literature review on any evidence find, on that fall prevention for elderly people. So find one article, show me your search strategy. Think about the match heading, if you use match heading search. And think about, what kind of ways that you search and what type of literature that you found for that question. Again, you can always start with the keyword search. Pay attention to the limiters. How you find the limiters to limit it. And then see what type of evidence you find, what type of study you found. Okay. Once you are at the PubMed, if you want to check to what mesh heading they use, there's a mesh database there that you can check. And then later on you can, build your search from there. And I mentioned about in my slide about the clinical queries. You can also do your search directly from the clinical query here. If you do clinical query, if you build your search here, it will give you clinical study categories. If you want to know what are the clinical studies category there, when you click on the filter information, it will tell you more. Basically, the therapy, diagnostic, etiology, prognosis, and clinical prediction guidelines. And then it will also give you the systematic reviews, if there's any. So there are multiple ways to do your search. I said, you can start with your search here if you want. Do your keyword search, start with your search here, and then use the publication type limiter to limit to specific evidence-based literature. That's one way to search. Another way is use the clinical query, and then you can directly search the clinical query. searching the filter and filter information there. Or you can build from the mesh subject heading there. Find out what mesh subject heading you use specifically for that, and then build your search that way. I show you 3 ways to search, so now go ahead and explore it. Anybody find the article that's related yet? No one? Anyone?
Is there one specific article or just any article is related?
First needs to be evidence-based, not a literature review. Needs to be a systematic review or randomized control trial. You need to know that is evidence-based article. And then you need to know your search strategy and how you find it. I see you are using publication type. Very good. Anyone? Did you find anything? Very good. Could you help me to demonstrate?
Sure.
What's your name?
Kimmy.
Kimmy. Everybody, we got another helper, and Kimmy was going to help. And she actually found a systematic review, meta-analysis on the topic. So let's see how she does it. She actually went to advanced search. That's good. That tells me she's actually, what did you type?
I forget.
She typed exercise as the first concept, and using and the second box for prevention, and then elderly. These are all keyword search. That's perfectly okay. Okay. So she got. See, she already had those major concepts identified. It needs to be for elderly, it needs to be for fall prevention, and it has something to do with exercise. So, and she just click on customize and show systematic reviews, and then she says, I want to limit to systematic review, and then she found this one. Says effective exercise for fall prevention in nursing home residents, a systematic review, a meta-analysis. So from the title, that's perfectly, seems to be fine, right? So how you examine further to make sure that it is actually a systematic review. Go ahead, so there are multiple ways. I said I don't tell you how to evaluate. Sometimes you have to go and read the whole thing and evaluate it yourself to see what type of study. But then, here's another way. Go click on the publication. See what it says. Publication type, meta-analysis, systematic review. That confirms this is a systematic review, highest level. Okay. So, and also let's examine the mesh heading. What's accidental fall prevention control? That's you see it's with a star. That's the major subject heading about this article. That's what we need. Yes?
Is the publication type, is that being submitted by the author of the article, or is that PubMed saying this is a meta-analysis?
PubMed, yeah, right.
Okay, so we can feel like we can trust that.
Yeah, right. And then it says it's for age 80 and over, and exercise therapy method. That's another major keyword for that. And then let's go back to your result. Okay, so there are 85 sets related to this, and then you can always look at the search details and see how PubMed search. It says using exercise. Finding exercise in mesh terms somewhere, or exercise appeared anywhere, and for in all field anywhere, and prevention and control maybe in the subject in the subheading of subject heading. So scroll down a little bit more. And you can see how that search strategy is being conducted for you. PubMed is smart. Even though you are doing a keyword search and it's telling the system not only searching as a keyword, but also in a subject. Okay? So, and also, scroll up. And let's show additional filters here. Here, additional filters. Okay, so if you want to say, I want to limit to nursing related and journal category, if you do that, and you can also check, say, age. Go ahead and check an age and show. And then you can say limit it to the specific age group. And you can also say, I want to limit to nursing journals. And also see how she did the systematic review there. Say if I also want randomized control trial on this topic, how do I do it? You click on customize. Oh yeah, that one is already there, so she click on that. And so basically it's telling it to find two types of articles, systematic review or randomized control trial. Or you can customize, go ahead and click on customize. And say if we want any other clinical studies, you can, here's meta-analysis if you want, you can, so that's how you, if you want to, find different type of studies there, okay? So that's one way you do this search, okay? So let's click on the PubMed, the main heading there. We mentioned about the mesh database. Let's go click on mesh database. Let's search for fall prevention to see if that's actually used as a, no, do S, force prevention. Okay, well that's not used as a, that's fine, then we just do as a keyword. Elderly, let's, elderly. So elderly, it does use as a subject, then so that's how you can check it. And then you can build your search from there. Yeah, so that's how you check. And then when you do your advanced search, click on advanced, you see, basically it has all your search histories. And then you can use, so say combine number 7 with number 6, after you check your match headings, you can combine them and search that way. So that's another way to search. And now let's go back to PubMed. Click on, PubMed, and then another way is to clinical queries. And then here, let's type in elderly and fall prevention and exercise, because that's important. And you see, there are 698 on the clinical query study category. Systematic reviews, there are 86. And then the default is the therapy, okay? It's the therapy type of study. But, and then the default is broad. You can change it to narrow if you want. And then it will refresh it. Instead of 400 some, now it's only 383, right? And then click on the therapy there to see if you want to look for some kind of like a clinical prediction guidelines. Let's try clinical prediction guidelines. And then there are 18. So that's how you find a different type of study there, and and also systematic reviews. So that's another way to do your search in PubMed through the clinical query. Okay. So we talk about in the PubMed, we talk about using the publication type as the limiters, and we talk about using the clinical query, and we talk about using the match heading. So if you want to see all, let's click on see all here. And another thing is, when you click on one article, let's click on the one article. To find a related study, I will always pay attention to related informations and similar articles. That's another way to pay attention, to find some related articles on that. Okay? So a researcher always, through what they found, examine the result, and always pay attention to the reference at the end. Okay, and see how, what kind of studies they quoted to find the similar studies and then similar articles that way. So that's another way to find some similar result. Everybody, you feel more confident searching PubMed now? Any questions? Very good, thank you so much. So, that's the PubMed. And I mentioned about the ProQuest nursing and allied health source, and that's another paid database, a subscription database. And this database provides some comprehensive coverage, not only on nursing but also allied health. But it also not only journal articles, it has some videos on it. Videos and then reference books. It also provides evidence-based nursing information from Joanna Drake Institute. And this is an institute that's known for producing systematic review and evidence-based literature. And then it has video clip and it has multicultural report. So if your topic is specifically, multicultural related, and it also has the study path for registered nurse and nurse practitioners. So if you don't know what's Joanna Briggs Institute, and for those of you going to do evidence-based, and this is another institute that's famous for the evidence-based literature, and but it's based from this university in Europe. And then that's the subject category that's covered in this database. As you see, it's more than just nursing. So if your topics, related to some other things that, this might be a database you might also want to try something with. Okay, so question number 3. Let's do a search on ProQuest. So again, in that lead guide, you will find the ProQuest nursing and allied health. Or if you're at the library's homepage, you can always click on research databases and find it that way too. So multiple ways to find that database: through research databases list or through my guide, the evidence-based guide under ProQuest Nursing Allied Health Source. And then this one, you need to find a systematic review article on Tai Chi as an intervention for fall prevention for elderly people. So I see some of you as more experienced searcher, instead of basic search, try advanced search to see what kind of limiters they provided there. What kind of objects that you actually have. Did you all find the database? Can you find the systematic review on that Tai Chi as prevention? as an intervention for Chris. Chris, find one. Did you all find one? So if not, you need to look at the screen and then see, let's see how Chris conduct his search. So he typed in Tai Chi as a first concept and search anywhere as a keyword search. And fall prevention as a second concept, search anywhere as a keyword search. And then third concept is elderly, anywhere. And then did you apply any limiters at all or?
I think so.
Okay,
I think I searched first and then
okay,
scholarly journals.
okay. So there are 1,500, then he's marked, he at least, limited to scholarly. And then there's further, and so it limited to 900 something.
Yeah.
And then how do you find systematic review?
So
There are still a
I had
lot
to scroll down a lot and then I found one right here on number 14.
on number 14. Score down a lot. Okay, so if you scroll up,
I couldn't find where to put systematic review.
how about do peer review? See, limited a little bit more because the systematic review has to be peer review. So now 903 is still a lot, right? And one way you can do, you can score down. Let's go down, find an article. That's a systematic review. Use it. And you find it just by identifying the title. Okay, let's examine the record. Here in the title, it says it's a systematic and meta-analysis review, and then you can find the food test. And how about let's examine the abstract details. And you see the words that's being highlighted. That tells you how the computer works. It's searching all this as keywords. It appears in the abstract. And the subject is older people, studies physical fitness, and then match patterns, falls prevention, Tai Chi, and then title, and it says this is a review article, it's a scholarly journal, but it didn't tell me specifically this is it is definitely a systematic review, except in the title field. So you have to then examine yourself very carefully, maybe, when you read the article. And if I click on my long search, I can go back to my search, right? And recent searches, you can look at your search history again and then build your search there. Or I can add another row. How about let's click on add another row. Type in systematic review, maybe appear anywhere. Then that way, instead of 903, I might have some, did it say N? One has more.
It looks like that he really liked that article. Could you pull up that article and do a control find and then type in systematic review and see if it popped up anywhere? Or is that kind of cheating?
Yeah, you can. But then it can be, when you do systematic review, control find that way,
Right.
you can find, says this article used a systematic review, one of the systematic review in this study or something.
Correct.
But then
Okay.
itself might not be systematic review.
Ah, I gotcha.
Okay. So, Oh, and so get rid of the peer review, yeah, we have to reapply the peer review function. So 612. So, this way, it just limit a little bit more. You see, this one, it says systematic review of effective Tai Chi on fall prevention among, so it's looking for that appeared, maybe full test somewhere, but that article might not be systematic review. So,
Gotcha.
so this one, this database doesn't have a very effective way to search for randomized control trial, systematic review or something. You kind of have to throw that term in and then, find it that way and then, examine and make sure that is really a systematic review. Okay. So I suspect that one he found it is really a systematic review and meta-analysis, but then sometimes you need to make sure and read it. Okay. So that's ProQuest. Any questions on this database? And again, we talked about, the advanced search. Go ahead and click on advanced search. Scroll down. You see, they have age group, and you can also, if you want to look for some training videos and audios, this database provides, like I mentioned, those audio, video contents. If you're looking for any of the training video, scroll up by clicking on Browse. It has some study path I mentioned for registered nurse or practitioner nurse. So those are the, some of the special features for this database. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, so that's for this one. And next one is Cochrane. Cochrane database is well known for systematic review and randomized control trial. And the disadvantage of this Cochrane database is it's very limited. It doesn't have much of the unfiltered information. It's mostly filtered information. So that's the Cochrane. And let's try, well, I don't have an exercise specifically for Cochrane. Let's finish this Medline with food test. And I mentioned the Medline with food test is a paid, ours is the App version, it's a paid subscription, okay? It has food tests to more than 1,200 journals with cover-to-cover indexing. And then it's search for citations with more than 5,200 biomedical journals indexed in Medline. And I mentioned PubMed, right? Medline is part of PubMed. And this absolute Medline with food test is the commercial version of Medline. So when you are searching the PubMed, it's actually also searching the Medline already. But it's more than just Medline PubMed. Okay? So this is more like a commercial, and then it has these limiters that you can use. It has the EBM review limiter, evidence-based review. And basically when you apply the limiter, it's asking the database to search for Cochrane database systematic review, ACP Journal Club. This is another journal club that's very well known for evidence-based literature. And then these are the journal title. Evidence-based nursing is a journal title. Okay, so we search for those. And you can also limit by the publication type, just like CINO, and to just limit to systematic review, randomized control trial, and those kind of things. So that's Medline. And TRIP database, we already say TRIP, used to be turning, why it's called TRIP is stands for turning research into practice. But they abandoned that. They said now they just call it TRIP. Okay, and it searched for many sites of evidence-based literature. And so the limits of that database is because it can have more UK focus than desired. And then because it's a free search engine, it doesn't have the link to food test function. And again, sometimes you also need to find the evidence-based guideline, right? So do you guys know how to search for guidelines? In PubMed, I just demonstrate how to search for guideline in PubMed. Did you remember that last exercise? Yes, right? And then in Signal, there's a limiter under publication type. You can search for guideline that way. And in Medline, also there's a publication type limiter. You can search for guideline that way. Okay? So multiple ways in the database you can search for guideline. And then in my evidence-based guide, I have a specific section tells you how to search for practice guidelines and standards. So you can do those database search, and you can also go to the reliable websites that I listed here to search for specific guidelines. Before there's a national guideline clearinghouse, and they stopped that, unfortunately, in 2018. And it used to be a very good site that to find, majority of guidelines, but then I heard they're still trying to build, find some alternative ways to, build it, because of lack of funding. So when you have time, this is a section that hopefully will be helpful for you. So let's look for guidelines. Now we'll try our last question, question number 4. And this one, I will want you to do your search in Cochrane, Medline, and Trip, those 2-3 databases I just mentioned, and then maybe compare the search result that way. Basically, you are searching for using music as intervention for pain management during the knee surgery. Okay? You are the winner. We got a winner here. What's your name? Ali. Ali? Yeah. Okay. Ali is going to be our instructor. She's going to show how she finds. So nobody else found it? Ali found it. Anybody else found one? Anybody besides Ali? Anyone? No?
You.
You are the definite winner. So she went to the Medline. Let's see what she typed in. The first concept, she used music, and she, hold on, see how simple she truncated a lot of things, okay? Instead of using, say, music intervention or music therapy, she just put music. And that's very, very broad. And you can always start with broad, that's good. And she uses what? The keyword search, and knee surgery is a keyword search, appear anywhere, and pain appear anywhere. And how many she got? Like 5. And then the first one, it says systematic review or use music intervention to improve outcome of patient undergoing hip or knee surgery. Okay? So let's examine it further. Publication type, it didn't identify it as a systematic review. It says it's a review type of article. Okay? And then you see the abstracts here, go down further. It's a literature review. And how do I make sure this is actually a systematic review? Okay, and if I don't want to read it, I just want to be lazy. And let's copy the whole title. And then let's go to, say, PubMed. Let's go to PubMed. Or let's go to one search. Go to one search. And yeah, go one search. And I see if it actually appears in any other databases article, which is specified as a title search. Okay, so oh, you find it right away. That's good. Let's click on. It tells you this is from Signal Plus with test. And then,
Systematic
minor
review.
subject, systematic review. So it's put it there, that means somebody already analyzed it and confirmed this is actually a systematic review. So that's why I assigned a minor subject there. And that's a lazy way, you know. It's just a lazy way to identify it's a real systematic review. Okay, so yeah. So this is Medline. Did you find it in TRIP?
Same article.
Same article. You found it in TRIP. And did you try Copen?
It was just trials.
Copen didn't find it, just trials. And okay, so let's see. Before you leave, let me. I missed one thing for the question number 2. For the PubMed. Let's go back to PubMed. How about you go to my PubMed? Yes. In PubMed, well, before you go there, close this, yes. And go down, go further down. There's a direct link to that cost analysis and comparative effectiveness. Scroll further down. Yeah, here Pico, you can build using the Pico and search PubMed this way. That's a direct link. Okay, you want to try that sometime? Let's go further down. This National Library of Medicine resource for informing comparative effectiveness. Okay, go click on that. They have a specific page that you can do search. Scroll down. You can build your search here. You can search specifically randomized control trial. You can search for systematic review here directly. And you can also, if you want to compare some comparative study on effectiveness for that topic, you can do that. And you can also do the cost analysis type of articles there. So I want to mention this site. If that's related to your, your project or something, and this can be a good tool to use too from PubMed. Because if you go to PubMed, you don't find that directly from their main menu. So I found this and I listed on menu guide. Okay, so you can try that, using that for fall prevention for elderly, if your topic specifically, want to compare the effectiveness, you can find the type of articles there too. Okay, systematic review on the effectiveness. Yeah, I think I like this a lot. Okay. So, thank you so much. Okay, let's go back to summarize what we learned. Did you all learn something? You think you are now more experienced searcher? You feel more confident searching those databases? Again, search is non-linear and interactive, requiring evaluating the information sources. We talk about how we examine the information, look at the different field, look at our search strategy closely, and how we revise that strategy to pursue the alternative avenues as your new understanding develops. Do you think you have a better understanding of this now? Very good. Our last exercise, just to summarize what we talked, okay? We all mentioned about the, 5 different type, 5 or 6, 7 different type of databases. Do you remember what are their advantages? What are their limitations of those different databases? Spend a few minutes to think about that. And then maybe you can help if you remember. And again, whenever you search a database, I didn't mention about the more advanced search technique like for the ProQuest, and then for PubMed. If you need more advanced search technique, always go look for the help, okay? In the help, it will show you more advanced search technique, how you search that database effectively. So which one is your favorite database so far? Anyone have a favorite one? Do you have a favorite one?
My free time, I really like to
You like Sino, okay?
It's like,
Usually the commercial one is more user-friendly, the Medline, Sino, those kind of things is more user-friendly. And PubMed is a free version, the search, sometimes it can be not very, straightforward and understandable, and, you have to build up your experience and your search tech, but it's a very, very good source. But because that's the information base, that's what the Medline plus with food test, that's where their content's from. That commercial vendor, they got their content from PubMed, and then they build it to be more user-friendly and sell to us. But then, Medline is only a part of PubMed. PubMed is bigger than Medline. It's more than just Medline. And then they all have their different focus and emphasis, like that ProQuest Nursing with Allied Health. They have some major nursing journals, but then it's not comprehensive as PubMed or Medline. They cover some different subject area with Allied Health. And then there are some free search engines like Trip. If you want some international content. Anybody want to share? Anyone? You feel like you get more familiar with these databases in this class? Okay. So what's the advantage for PubMed?
For us, it's like a medical database, so that's an advantage to us. It has a lot of the medical things we look for.
Yes, it's a largest medical database. It not only includes the nursing, but biomedical, medicine. That's the biggest advantage of that. What's the limit and disadvantage? Difficult to search. You have to know what you're doing. Yeah. And how about Medline? A commercial one, Medline Astro version. What's the advantage of it?
It's fairly easy to navigate and search.
Very easy to navigate, and you need to know and remember to apply your limiters to apply that effectively. And then the disadvantage is
it's more limited than PubMed.
it's smaller, comparing with the content, it's smaller than PubMed. Yes. ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health. The advantage if you're looking for some Allied Health, more Allied Health related, contents, that can be a good source. And Cocoon is the best, known as the best systematic review database, and it's a paid one. Even though you can find some Cocoon contents from the PubMed, from the Medline, as well as from Sino. And sometimes it's good to, also search that database to make sure that you get all, Signal, of course, is the biggest nursing database, right? But then it's limited to nursing only. So if your topic is go beyond nursing, you want to search some other related databases, right? And OneSearch, again, we talk about OneSearch, is database of databases. We call that discovery layer. You can also call it meta search. You search for all the paid subscriptions as well as the open source journals. Thesis, dissertations, all those open source materials. Trip is a free search engine for evidence-based, specifically evidence-based literature, and it's British focused. If you want some foreign contents, that can be a good one too. Okay, so that's pretty much conclude our session today. Any questions? Yes.
The only thing I would add is for anesthesia, since anesthesia is such a hard science versus a soft science, not to cast aspersions on nursing as soft science, but anesthesia is a hard science, so I find that PubMed does that hard science thing maybe a little bit better if you're looking for something specifically about dosing a specific treatment or something like that. And then the Cochrane database has all those systematic reviews and reviews, and as you look at the pyramid and randomized controlled trials at the top, that's where you're going to find a lot of the hard science stuff that we do in anesthesia. Now, as you do your classes and work across the university, they may discount hard science and want you to do soft science stuff. So that it's nice that we have this broad spectrum or broad array to search, because you really don't find much soft science stuff in PubMed, at least I haven't. And it's all about surviving to get to clinicals and then start IVs and do stuff.
Okay, I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
Because you guys all know I'm a librarian. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I don't have any medical background. And you guys are taking the evidence-based research course. And am I duplicating here? Do you find this supplement as a supplement to what you learned, or you find this helpful, or am I just repeating and just trying to be an expert, but not really an expert in this field? What do you think? Do you find this helpful?
I think it's definitely helpful, but we had to already use a lot of the databases, so it might have been more helpful if we did it like right at the very beginning.
Okay.
Because we already had to figure out how to search a lot of this stuff for some of the assignments that were due.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, I saw some new things that I didn't use
Yeah, right.
before.
So you did learn something new
Yeah, absolutely.
for all 3 sessions, or just this session? All 3 sessions you learned something new?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like we're behind, we're like ahead of the game a little bit, like this would have been more pertinent initially.
Yeah, but see, you just start with the program, even though you already start with some assignment, and you continue to have more assignment and more complicated assignment coming up, especially for your DNT project. And hopefully this, because a lot of times this kind of, technique and, skills, and you have to apply it again and again. And in order to be, proficient, and, and you have to form that habit, and develop a different way of thinking. And yeah, I'm glad that is helpful. And because at the end of this, because this is the first time I spend a lot of time preparing for this workshop. It's my first time preparing for this kind of workshop. I need the feedback from you, and I also because I don't want to pretend to be an expert here, which I'm not, and I'm not trying to teach any medical, related content. I'm just trying to teach from a library science, perspective. And I hope I just work, maybe at the end of the workshop, I'm going to talk with some of your faculty and see how might help here, how next time, my work can help to supplement, their work and to help you guys more successful in your study. But, our next one, I probably will conduct a survey at the end, so you guys think about it. If you have any thoughts, any for improvement, any comments, and anything that you think that I can, do better next time to help you guys, let me know. Start thinking about it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.